Chamber tentative agenda, Monday, June 27, 2020, 6:00 p.m. I'm going to do a roll call for the council. Patrick.
Here.
Dolly.
Here.
Renslow.
Here.
Cobal.
Here.
Morgan. Okay, John.
Yes, sir. I'll call a roll for the. Brian.
Here.
I'm here. Shirley
Here.
and Craig. Craig is not. Hey,
Okay, I need a motion for the agenda approval.
I'll move.
Moved by Cobal,
I'll second.
second by Kirkpatrick. How do you vote, Kirkpatrick?
Yes.
Dolly?
Yes.
Renslow?
Yes.
Cobal?
Yes.
and I'll ask for a motion to approve the.
I will.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Yeah, I did.
Kim made the motion,
Okay,
I'll second it.
seconded by Shelley.
okay, we'll proceed to vote. Brian?
Yes.
I vote aye. Shirley
Aye.
and Kim.
Yes.
Okay, number 2, City Hall employee Michael Morgan, promotion, possible closed session. I've got a few things to say eventually on this, but before anybody makes a motion to hurry up and have a vote on this, I'd like to have some input. This was kind of put together and some people really didn't know what was gonna go on here. So I'll let people
I would
talk.
just
and I
like to
got
say
something
that-
say.
If there was a resignation tendered and it was in writing, I'm unhappy that it wasn't emailed to the council right away and brought to our attention. And why we found out very late. Just putting that out there. I think it's the council's right to know if one of its employees is resigning. It should be notified right away.
And as our last meeting on the 21st, Mike had specified that he was leaving. And then Ash had commented that Sarah would be taking more responsibilities. And I thought that's what the end of it was. And I didn't know that we had a position open for an assistant. I mean, we never had it. I mean, you had this job for a long time, Ash, and I think you've done a good job. But I didn't know we needed a second one. Mike has done a wonderful job, I'm not saying that at all. You're a talented young man. But I'm just saying that I think that our town has been sufficient with the employees that we have. Ash has commented many times how good his employees are, and I just don't see the point.
And
That's all.
thank you, Shirley. I would just like to reiterate what Christina said too. I think anytime something like this happens, the council is due some sort of notification instead of maybe where rumors can take off, and that falls on you, Ash, to do that. Also, I am kind of confused on the agenda. It's got City Hall employee Michael Morgan / promotion. Is that what we're talking about, a promotion for him, or are they about here? Can we get some clarity on what? Because I heard Shirley mention something, she didn't know we needed a second one, but a second what? What are we talking about?
So you want to make a presentation about this
I was
to tell
hoping
us
to
where we're all,
second.
just so we can.
Are we gonna be moving into a closed session?
Well, no,
Are we talking
I don't
about
know, I'm
this,
just
or-
asking if,
You need
let's
to
give them a chance to
I
explain.
think bits and pieces of this.
Well, okay, so closed session can be requested by Michael. If we're not talking about performance, generally I don't think we go into a closed session,
But if we're
but
gonna
you know,
start
he can
Wages.
Huh?
Don't you think wages are part of that? I mean, I don't know,
They're
that's why I
public
asked,
record.
I to be just on there just in case. because-
Right, you're right, it does need to be on there if he requests it, so it's totally, it's his call, it can't be our call.
I do not want a closed session.
Okay, we'll proceed with it. am I allowed to talk?
Yeah, and then
Anybody has any
after you're
questions?
done, I wanna say a few words.
I really appreciate everything. I just heard. What I would like you to know is, last week, Mike came to me and said he applied for a job, got a phone call, went, being interviewed, and that happened to him. That day happened to be the day of utility board meeting. I came to the utility board and I said, Mike informed me today that he had another offer and he's thinking about taking. That's what I had in, he was there, and that was last week, I think. The next day, I consulted with the utility superintendent, I consulted with, because Mike is a joint employee, if that's something that the council or the board is not aware of. Mike and myself and City Hall are joint employees. We report to 10 people, 5 council members and 5 board members. Our employment collectively had. So I need to consult with those people. I consulted with the chairman of the utility board. I consulted with the mayor.
3
That
days
was-
later though,
What 3 days?
I mean, I heard.
The next day, night of the meeting, the next day I consulted with both utility board chairman, mayor, and utility superintendent, because it's a people directly working with them. I can't consult because follow the right forum, I have to get that joint. After I consulted, I was allowed to have a joint meeting to talk about it because the possibility of the employee will take another job. No resignation take place or anything. At the utility board meeting, I have announced that if Mike left, Sarah's taken some of the
Right.
position, and that's what normally we do. So that's pretty much the issue around that thing that happened in one day for me at
When
the
was the
joint meeting.
utility meeting?
What that,
When was the utility meeting?
what is it, Thursday?
Thursday, the 21st.
Last Thursday,
The 23rd, 21st.
yes.
The 23rd.
Yeah, we called the meeting the next day. It's just kind of,
I'm going back on my email. I got an email Thursday day about a joint council meeting.
I think.
So I just want to make sure that I've got my dates.
So,
So you were called in on Tuesday?
Last Tuesday.
It was Tuesday.
Okay, Tuesday the 21st.
We called
Okay,
the
and then
meeting on
we. 23rd.
Yeah, that's kind of
Right.
what the conclusion, I got hold of
Third,
the.
well, I guess I got the email Thursday from the meeting. And then a revised one later that day, because that's when I first found out about the meeting.
And that's really where the things fall in place. I try to follow the chain of command, and that's very much what I did. Consulted with the mayor, chairman of the utility board about the issue, and we discussed how can we work with that issue. Of course, we have to get the board members, council members involved in it, so we call joint meeting. That's the story around this calling the joint meeting. Whatever you heard out there, and I heard twice as much, I don't know anything about it.
So we do
I'm
have a
here.
resignation or we don't have a resignation?
I don't have it yet,
You don't have anything in writing?
not yet.
we have a video where it was said that his last day will be like July 1st.
That's
That's a
what,
resignation.
that's what.
But it's not- I mean, even though it's on video, I'm asking, we don't have anything in writing?
Let's just ask him, Mike, is that you were offered a position and you put your 2 weeks in?
That's all that's been done so far.
All right,
So you
Thank
have tendered the resignation?
well, yeah.
But not in writing, just verbally?
But you received an offer
I-
from,
me,
is everybody
when
aware?
in writing is, he informed me that he has the offer, somehow leaving it, okay. That was the same day of the meeting, so I came and
You're
told
aware of that. I
everybody.
just wanna know if we have a resignation or we don't have a resignation, is it verbal or is it written? That's all I'm trying to just establish so I can process.
And from what I've heard, it would be a verbal resignation, I don't think we have a requirement.
I'm not, I was just asking, did you
Right.
put it in writing? That's all I'm
Right.
trying
Yeah.
to
And as
figure out.
Councilmember Mike Carla, we don't make it requirement, it's not a requirement, anybody can put his 2 weeks notice. We appreciate it. All we ask for is a 2 weeks notice. That's really what's required.
Well, a 2 weeks' notice is not even required, they can quit.
They
That
can-
day. That's just kind of courtesy, I mean, it's
So-
not a requirement.
Yeah, and let's take us into that subject itself. And the main reason we're coming tonight here is the proposal that I'm trying to take the line and discuss it with you. We have a position called Assistant City Administrator. We came up with that position 2 years ago. And we had former employees holding that position, or held that position. That position has been vacant since she moved on to take another position.
And at that time, I'd like it to be clear that Kristen did a phenomenal job for the city.
Yeah.
And when we lost her, I, as a council member, asked her if there's any reconsideration for the ability of a match at that point, because she is a very valuable person in that position, what she had done for us. And she'd already committed.
But did she have what did she
I have
have?
no idea, we never got that far. Never
No,
went that
no,
far.
what did she have for a college education?
4 years.
She had a master's,
bachelor's
she had a
degree
master's in
in
public
business.
administration, correct?
She had a bachelor's of business and a
Master's in public
correct.
administration.
But she had accepted the position and she was, phenomenal what she was doing. So we were trying to, again, retain folks. And it's the same concept. Jim Henderson got his grade 3, was doing a fantastic job for us. This has been a long time ago.
Yes.
I mean,
And
and so
that,
we made that decision. That's on the city side. I don't know.
yes, and that's why we have a joint meeting tonight, because the unique situation about Mike is he's working for both. I put my job description on the table for everybody, just for the reference and take it home. This is what I do for the town, all these positions that I'm holding, and the assistant city administrator is supposed to help me with all that. That the job title and job performance.
But there's no correlation between your position.
I'm getting to
Okay,
this.
all right, sorry.
This position here is the same position I hold with the utility, with different pronunciation. Like city treasurer, I'm the finance officer with the utility. Clerk, I am utility board. So I am doing the job in both sides. Different title, different name, different pronunciation. That's why my recommendation would be tonight related to both utility. Assistant city administrator who's working because that's the position. Tonight, I'm proposing something different. I'm proposing that we take the deputy clerk, Mike Morgan, to fill in that vacant position, assistant city administrator. He has 11 years of experience on and got his college degree without even the city has any involvement with it. He got his associate degree. He went on and got all the knowledge to become our IT guy for the city and utility. Since the former city administrator left the employment, he's been performing with me the same responsibility up to date.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why is it then, if that position was declared 2 years ago and Kristen had it and she left, why wasn't anything by you brought up for the council and us to give her an offer? We didn't.
It
Well,
was
why wasn't it
allowed,
advertised? If we had an open position, I wasn't
If
aware
we
we
have
had
an open position, we should be putting it out to the public.
So there
Okay.
is, with this as it is now, since it's an open position, after consulting with the Iowa League of Cities, if we don't advertise that, we could be in violation of the veterans preference, which is Iowa Chapter 35C, even if we're promoting within.
so my
I
question
just
is,
didn't know we had a position open.
And when we promoted Kristen, it was based off of job well done.
And she
and
was our
when we promoted
economic
Jim-
developer on
well,
top of it.
And we're talking about this is a fine line. When we promoted Jim, the job well done. He had been over, I think, what was your title change? We changed your title from something to something.
Went from wastewater
to public work.
operator to public
Still,
works.
it was very general because of that grade 3 license and the job that he was doing. That's why. There was no posting.
But he
That
was
was just one
increased,
part of it.
Right.
the swimming
No
pool,
post.
he took over the swimming
I
pool, he took
totally
over all this other
get it.
stuff, and he added all these job duties underneath.
I
And
completely understand.
I'm
I'm just
paying
saying,
There
another
wasn't a
service.
job that was
Posting.
being posted.
And that's what I'm
You
trying to
didn't post
say,
it, that's why.
if you allow me.
Yeah, sorry.
When we promoted the Preston Rinsula, we didn't have to advertise, and specifically Councilmember Mike Carball got an advice from the city attorney for that specific reason, and I have it, and I can present it to you.
And why is that, though? It's because we didn't give her any more duties. But you have just said that he would have the same duties
No,
under you.
Did give her more duties.
No, we didn't really.
She, yeah, I mean, she became,
Yes.
she went from economic development to assistant city administrator, which means if Ash was not around to perform his job, then it would fall on her.
No, we didn't.
Did you train her at all?
I know we had that meeting and we talked about job duties and we just weren't, we
and
didn't do it, I believe at that
And
time.
to
I don't know if we had the thing at that time, but
the more duties he's gonna get is if you have a chance to lead these job duties for the city administrator, to be completely different between the job duties for deputy clerk. We can demonstrate that on the screen so you see the difference.
I don't need to.
It would be a lot of more, we're not gonna demonstrate, we're just saying we can demonstrate. There would be a lot of different duties he's gonna perform. Why? Because the former assistant city administrator was performing just the duties for the city. He's gonna perform the same duties for the utilities. He's gonna be doing all these things, not just city and utility. So there is big difference between what he's doing now and what he's gonna be doing after we give him that promotion.
so
What else goes into this proposal besides just the promotion of assistant city administrator?
It's just to match what the former assistant city administrator
Which
is
is-
making,
Which is what?
59,060. I just wanted to put him in the same position because he's got to do the same thing,
And what's his salary now?
45. And that difference will be split between city and utility. So we're talking about 7,500 on the city side, 7,500 on the utility side.
So how have we been able to get away with this the last 2 years we haven't had?
Because I'm here,
And we have an economic development director.
yeah, we hired the economic director to even take the pressure off, because I took all the work from the economic development director on myself. But I have to give my credit because he,
I don't think anybody's saying he's a bad
No,
employee,
no,
we're just trying to,
no, but I have to give credit. to
Mike, I
credit
hope
is
you don't
due.
take that anyway.
yeah, no, I mean, you're a great employee.
Yes, he is.
It's just a lot of-
Ash has
a lot of
been doing the
information.
same job for 26, how many years you been here, Ash? You've been doing a good job, why do we have to add another, that much of an?
No, not adding, what my proposal is, my job, as you saw, is to maintain company personnel. And this was very well described from the next items, information you got in the mail. We can display. Would you display, Mike? My job is.
I don't-
I know,
I
I know what.
Okay, I'm just trying to explain that I'm trying to,
If he gets promoted, what happens to his position?
is still doing this more, that's why.
So who's gonna be the new deputy clerk?
Well, Sarah's gonna work on it.
So Sarah would then be promoted,
If she showed that she can do it, which she said she will work, I told her.
and then what happens to Sarah's position?
But she'll be doing both, like I'm doing 7 jobs. And he's gonna do 15, and she's gonna do 100, but this is what it is, this is the nature of what we do at the city hall. Everyone willing to.
Things to say, you talk about people wearing so many hats. I did a few phone calls. Laura Wolf used to work for Guthrie Center. She works with Greenfield now. I asked her, how many city employees you have? She says, I'm the clerk. We have 2 people doing utilities. Guthrie Center has.
Hold on, say that again, please. Sorry.
Laura Wolf quit Guthrie Center. She's the clerk in Greenfield.
Yes.
She has 2 people doing the utilities too. She
Yeah,
does
yeah.
main city.
Yeah, I just, hold on. Okay, go ahead.
And
That's
then-
just utility side inside City Hall?
That's what I wanna get, and I'm
What
gonna
does she-
answer that.
Hold on, what did she do? Is she the city manager for both sides or just one side?
Well, she says she does everything for the city.
Okay.
Do they have a split like we do?
I don't
Yes,
know.
they do.
That's why I was,
They do?
Utilities and,
Okay.
no, but I mean, I didn't know if the city hall was.
No, that's why I'm asking if
Yeah,
they're
they're both.
split.
and then Guthrie has 2 full-time and 1 part-time. I asked Lisa up to Kenora, they have 2 people, her and another person, 1 part-time that comes in only
During billing.
when, or when they're on vacation or sick, they don't call anybody.
That's like.
Can I answer that? Can I
Yeah.
answer that?
Yeah.
While the mayor was around, and I think you were around too, Councilmember Klein, I have submitted an answer to that question. And I'm now seeing it where everybody's watching us. Are we on YouTube?
Definitely.
What we make here is less one, what we make in Greenfield. I demonstrated that the city and utility, and it's in writing, it's on record. The 2 employees there in Greenfield, they make more or as much as the 4 employees at the city hall. It's on record. You can come to my office, I will be glad to show you. The 2 employees in Greenfield making as much as 4 employees here at the city hall. Why? Because we decided to, instead of having 2 full employees being billed out, we decided to match the wage of the 2 part-time with the 2 full-time to be compatible with the other towns. The 2 full-time understood this and worked on that. Why? Because having a job, and you were working with me, Shirley, and you know that, having a job run by 2 full-times is better. It's not better than having a job run by 2 full-time and 2 part-time. If they both making the same amount of money, which way will you choose? You've been in business. You run operation on 4 or 2? 4. That was the choice that we took at the city hall. The 2 full-time sitting here, the 2 full-time has discussed that with me that he would like to have 2 part-time than have a higher salary, because he will get done that. That's the answer to what the mayor is saying. It's not the number of employees, how much they make, and how much we make. That stuff was demonstrated 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and it's on file.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
I think, we kind of got off the subject there a little bit, but I understand what we're doing. So, and I missed it. I think Christina asked you what would happen to Mike's position? If
He's still gonna go forward.
he's still gonna do his position,
Yes.
the deputy
Yeah.
clerk.
And we have, Sarah is gonna be willing to step up and be bold to be a deputy clerk. Because we always have the opportunity here open for everyone. He came here right out of high school.
No, I
He
understand that.
won
I'm just,
his associate degree on his own.
my biggest thing is that, it needs to be done the correct way. I am concerned about, the veterans preference thing, because we didn't have, when we gave Kristen that title, we didn't create a position. We just gave a title. I
Yeah,
got the
I
email.
agree.
I'm looking at the email right here from our attorney. And,
There's no money involved either.
now,
No money, because I
no,
won't.
there's no, now we have created a position now separate,
Yeah.
and we're gonna be giving,
We haven't created for Kristen, how can we create it?
All we did in that situation was change the title. I don't understand what the
Her
difference is
title
of
was
promoting
economic
within.
development director /
I get it, but hold on.
assistant.
That was just a change in title. That's all the motion was from what I remember.
Yeah, it was exactly what it was, but I
No
also
money.
remember she had the education to back it. She had we all knew, she had a master's in public administration, so, I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, I don't know if other cities require your administrator to have a public administration. I mean,
I'm sure the city manager.
It's kind of.
I have a question for the utility board
We're not
when
talking about that position.
it's open.
Anyway, his position is gonna be deputy clerk / assistant city administrator. What the difference between
I don't,
economic development director /
well, that's like,
It's
well,
So
the
we're looking
difference-
to the future though, and one of these days, I know Ash will wanna retire. Then will that your job be up for somebody to come in, well, then the requirements, he's already got all the experience, everybody's gonna look at that.
But
He's
you
got
don't
all
have
the
the
experience.
education.
If Ash were to retire tomorrow, there would have to be a search to me.
And that's what I'm
From
assuring.
the
He
utility
I
council
agree.
working
I agree.
together.
has nothing to do with my position.
Right, that's
He will
absolutely.
treat him like we treated the former assistant city.
But she didn't get a she
Right.
didn't get a pay increase
Yes,
at
but-
all when
But
she took that new
But if we
position.
put him to do the same performance, don't we need to compensate?
No, we never gave Kristen a
But
pay
she was
increase.
making 55 or 50.
She also has a master's degree,
But we're just sitting up here and saying that Sarah would have to step up and do more responsibilities.
and she's not getting a pay.
We're not talking any wages for Sarah.
Correct.
She was
She
awesome.
I also think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, in the next few years, we might have a few voids, right, shoes to fill. That's a city hall, right? We
Yes.
potentially have
That's a great point, I think it's.
three,
Yes.
so
And-
do we need to be a little more proactive here in, are we gonna go out there and, I'm not saying we don't want to retain 2 people and then look for someone to kind of take over your role, groom them, you get what I'm saying here? Do we need
Yeah, I
to
mean,
be looking at someone, hiring someone out that we groom to take over the city administrator, or are we saying Mike is going to be our next city administrator?
There's no.
No, we
Yeah,
can't
we
say
I don't
that.
think
We don't do
Yes.
that.
We don't
I
have
Well, I know
to.
we can't say that, but I mean, I'm just saying, are we kind of like grooming someone like this? One of these days, what happens if you just say, well, I'm,
Yeah.
2 weeks, I'm done.
Well, then the next person would come in that has just as many qualifications, has the opportunity to put her application or his application in, that's all there
And
is
this
to
is
it.
a-
Right, but we can go from five people here to 2 real fast. We could.
Doesn't one of your city employees,
I
city hall
think-
employees
are you saying-
retired anyways and now is coming back to help out? I mean, isn't he already retired and he comes back in to help out? So, I mean, honestly, if he decides, oh, I'm done, you're really at less than that because he has already retired and now come back part-time.
I think I want to respond to you there because it's good, really, the thing we're talking about. What I'm trying to do to the city and utility is provide stability, having my learn what I do is not necessarily for him to be the next city administrator. It's for the organization to be stable. For the organization, if I'm sick, I'm gone, I'm dead, anything, there's somebody who can hold the organization together until you decide what you want to do, whether to give it to him or give it to somebody else. But at least there's somebody to hold the organization together. He is capable of doing that now. My recommendation after having him for 11 years, I assure you, he is capable of doing that, which is holding the organization together. I'm not saying he is next me. No, that's up to you to decide. He is the one that can hold the organization together in my absence, whether it's for short time or long time. Then you can decide what you want to do.
So why now does he need to add verification of a title instead of going ahead and just wait until you retire and then?
Because, okay, we can do that, but we're gonna lose him, in the meantime.
Can I ask a valid question?
Yes,
Where is the money gonna come from? If we give him this raise, where is this money coming from?
okay. We're
Because-
talking about $7,500.
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking because, and this was the question I was gonna have for the utility board. Because in April, the utility board voted to give 4% increases to non-union people. Ash, that was an $1,800 raise for you, and it was a $900 raise for Mike on the utility. But yet, in the same sense, we had to raise our water rates to help pay for things, 9%.
But that was,
I-
hold on, no, you'd asked in that meeting, the last one we had, how we were going to, separate that out, and we hadn't decided at that point, we have, and we pushed that, I don't know, it was a 1% raise on about 90% of our water customers this year.
All I'm saying is we're increasing our water
Yeah.
rates to our customers.
Right.
We're raising wages already, and now we wanna give them more money every year on the utility side. And on the city side, I mean, we had to fight to give pay raises to cops. We have to fight to get equipment for cops. We have to fight to get fire trucks and ambulances, and I just, I don't know where the money is coming from.
But when we did the police, we had, that was like a $45,000 for existing positions and $55,000 for the new position. So that was $100,000 of perpetual expense. I'm just saying. And I, again, and this is just my own perspective, Jim Henderson doesn't ask for much. I worked with him for 16, I'm just putting this in perspective from equipment, personnel, whatever. I worked with him for 16 years. From my perspective as a council member, he's very fiscally responsible.
Very.
And I think the same thing exists. The city hall doesn't ask for, yearly bumps randomly either, is what I'm getting at. So,
Right, I don't understand where the money is gonna come from.
And that's what I would like to respond to that. A few months ago, we came and said we're gonna have full-time city employees, and we're gonna start advertising for $15 an hour.
Are we talking about public works?
Yes, $15 an hour, and guess what? We couldn't find anyone. And even when we find somebody who wasn't ready, meeting the qualification, we had to end up going from 15 to 18. And the council was informed of that. And I didn't see any opposition. Actually, it was a good encouragement from the council to find good people. And the mayor was after me daily to do that, weren't you?
17.
I think it was.
It's gonna be 18, 6, it's gonna be 18, 6.
I think that position was much needed.
Okay, let's just take
Plus,
it
we had the
step.
discussion prior that, we were gonna look at 15 to begin with,
We
and
are,
if we needed to increase it later.
And we had a permanent part-time position already there that we couldn't.
I'm just trying to demonstrate something that we are dealing with. We went from 15 to 18, because 17 was in 6 months would be 18. And that was good for everybody, including myself, because I'm in charge of the finance. I'm trying to make things work. And that was something that the mayor was insisting on promoting that to me daily. And we got it done, we found the right person really. We went and gave the police, entire police raise, added up to 100,000, which was $17,000 each. And we were good to maintain our police officers. And we're doing a good job now maintaining our police officers.
Plus, we had a grant on top of that to help.
One position, but we ended up giving 17,000 each. And it was good, we stabilized it, and we're moving on. We went on and did the same thing on the utility side. And then we give good raises to four of our utility employees. Did we give a big raise? Yeah, between 6 and 4,000.
A few years ago, we gave bigger raises than normal just to get them to a base salary where they should be.
Okay, so we did that city and utility in order for us to keep it together, to keep the good employees staying with us, because you will have a hard time getting a new employee trained. If he's trained, he won't take your salary, he will ask for more. If he's not trained, he's gonna cost you as much as the one leaving to train. Because the job market now, we all know, is very hard. That's the discussion that I had with the utility superintendent today. And we both agree on that we have to look at the people that we have and invest in them. Why not someone with 11 years of experience gets promoted? It's wisdom. We're filling the blanks. A position was vacant, we put someone, let's go ahead.
I have a question, so, and I guess it's for Mike, a lot of people look for other jobs for various reasons.
Yeah.
Is it just the money? Is that, no, I'm
You're
asking
familiar with
Mike,
him.
I'm asking Mike.
It was just an opportunity I saw, so I applied for it.
Mike, can you tell them what the job was in the title? Sorry.
That's fine, go
I would
ahead.
be their information services technician.
Okay, and that's something that you've wanted to do, I think, maybe
Yeah,
over the
as you
years.
can tell, I've upgraded all the stuff here,
Right.
so it's.
And we don't have that kind of position here, so to speak. It's just, you are just asked to do stuff.
Yeah, that's
With
taking
the
it with
IT
my
stuff.
job duties as it is.
Right. So this is this is a big, did you ever discuss your career aspirations, with the city administrator?
He knows I like IT and, you know, he knows where I wanted to be in the future and stuff like that.
Okay, so, you know, that goes hand in hand, you know, because a lot of times, you know, people start looking for other jobs when they, you know, and I understand that, you know, and if that's discussed, then this should have been avoided. Back against the wall type of stuff coming up here, oh, we gotta do this right now and try to save it. You know, I have a hard time doing that. And it's not against you, Mike, it's not against you. Procedure's a big thing, you know? If we had, and this will go into other stuff, if we had a system where the council and the utility board saw yearly reviews on people, maybe we would know where our employees are at before we get to this position. And for the 3 years that I've been here, I know we haven't had that. So we have no idea, and then we find ourselves in this situation where, what do, you know, what's the best thing to do, you know, on it. So, I appreciate you being candid, you know, on, you know, if it's, you were looking at it more of an opportunity, something that you liked. It wasn't just the money, on there, but, and I know money is a big thing, trust me.
Should we pay Sheridan Tech to do any of our IT stuff?
I think Sheridan,
I
at
thought
one
they did the
time,
website.
used to come
Is
in
that-
and do some work on their computers. We have Data Tech that does the service for, if you can't fix it yourself.
I got a question
It was just
for
a
you,
question,
Mike.
because I know I know we make a payment to them, I just didn't know what it all entailed.
IT is your love, really. Now, if they would go ahead and hire you, keep you here with the promotion, would you be satisfied, or are you gonna think down the road, well, I'd rather go somewhere and do IT work? The reason I'm saying that is my son did IT work for Nebraco. He went to work for Vanderbilt. He does IT work for them. He's still subcontracting to Nebraco. He says they offer more money at Nebraco, but the technology was at Vanderbilt. So he wanted to go there. That's what his college degree is. And that's what I'm asking, would you be happy knowing it's just limited IT stuff and then all this other stuff on top?
I'm a happy guy, you know.
Okay.
I love working here, but I just saw that,
Sure.
thought I would try, you know, what have I got to lose?
Yeah.
So here's another,
And that's a great question. I appreciate you bringing that up because personally, if I was a supervisor and I tried my best to keep you in some place where it was limited, I would kick myself for limiting your potential for growth. That's just me. You know, if that was your thing and you were going, you know, good for you and encouraging you to grow in that.
can I play devil's advocate here real quick?
Yeah.
Just,
Right.
you see other city employees sitting in your audience. Throwing this out there, we give a $15,000 raise. What does that say to the rest of your employees? That's a very big increase.
Go apply.
Can I ask you a
someplace else.
question, just kind of, you said you talked to the lady that worked in Guthrie Center, now she works on here.
Yeah.
Did she tell you how much she makes?
No, I could find out, but there again, they filled her position right away in Guthrie. They had one person doing her job, and then they hired a person. Well, she went to Greenfield, but Becky had left, and I think another clerk went in there before Laura went in there, and so she said there's just very little cross training.
I'm just curious, because, you know, I don't know, I feel like $40,000, you know what I mean? Like, I think Ash mentioned it earlier, are you gonna get somebody to come in and work for that? You know, I don't know.
Well,
So-
and in addition to that, not only is it 40,000, but you don't have to pay for your insurance. You got an added benefit there, you know, I don't know where you're going. If what you make, they're taking insurance out, but if we just up the thing, you know, and gave free insurance, that's a heck of a bump.
We're going from 45 to potentially 59 to 60. Now, I know when we were in our search for economic developers, we had a couple resumes of people that were not great economic developers because they didn't want to live here in town, but
They're way over that.
one person in particular I know would, I, in my mind, thought, oh my gosh, if we were 15 years down the road and Ash is retiring, she would be perfect for this job. But I think, and she had the college education, the master's in public administration to be able to do that, but I think if this this assistant city administrator, this thing just is, it's so mind-boggling to me because I didn't even know it was a position anymore and that it was open. Because if it was open, we should have been advertising and trying to figure out how to fund this. And now all of a sudden, boom, it exists again. When we had it exist before, there was no pay increase, there was nothing. It was just a job title. Because we knew that if something happened to our if something happened to Ash, we knew that we could fall back on that person because they did have the college education and they did have what it took to step into that position if you needed them to. I mean, it's like your president. You know that your vice president has the capability of stepping into the president's spot if something happens. Like, I don't know.
You had mentioned something, Dave, about a domino effect. And this is just my own perspective, so if I offend somebody, I apologize, but, Ash, if you decided to retire within a year, I can see other people retiring in that same sequence quickly thereafter. So if Mike is gone and other people leave quickly, I think that creates a vacuum. And so that's the benefit of having stability with Mike staying. That's
Or
my
would
own
you
perspective.
assume that there would be people that's gonna leave just because Ash is gone?
That's just my own perspective.
Okay,
I mean, I could see that.
This 15,000, I mean, what does that say to your other, I don't know.
I think
That's a huge
in
jump.
this position that we're talking about, if something did happen to Ash, I hope nothing does happen to him, but if something happens where he's out on medical or something for a month or something, and if fills his Ash's job duties, there's a special salary for that, so he can get compensated for that. I'm not saying do the 15,000 right now. I'm just saying if those duties arise, then we make that special compensation.
During that time.
Correct.
So alternatively, what can happen, as David said as well, you've got a couple from the council, a couple from the utilities, and then you do go after and hire, as you mentioned, Kristen, proactively, or Christine, as you mentioned, hiring someone as assistant city administrator, and that's going to be, what, 80,000?
Yeah, because you're gonna have a higher fund. I'm saying you might have some different, because you're not gonna get someone.
I'm just saying, we found out with economic development position.
Yeah, I mean.
What we
found
were
out
paying
real quick.
Kristen, I mean, was not market for what she was doing. And so, I mean, that's, not my own personal perspective, I think Mike does a lot of technical things that go unrecognized. And to find an IT expert, even if that's 20 to 40% of somebody's job, is gonna be a heck of a lot more than $30 an hour. That's just,
$85.
if I call, I don't even remember the name of the vendor, for the fitness center door, it's a $500 trip charge. Just, that's in a car, $250 out, $250 here, plus like $100 an hour. So I don't know how many hours you spend doing that stuff, but I know it's a lot. So, I mean, it seems like a big number because I think he's probably been undercompensated from where he should have been. That's, again, just me. But
I don't know.
It's good investing in someone you know.
Well, and I believe that too, you know, I'd like to keep people here, you know, the thing that, you know, I hate to go back in the past and think about the past, but I wish we'd been this vigorously trying to keep our previous economic developer and assistant city administrator as we are tonight. So that's just my,
I agree with you.
you know,
I mean, that was too far down the road.
so.
And I think this number 3 on the agenda, I think that will all play in fact. You know, I appreciate that Mike is bringing that up because that would have just eliminated everything like Brian was talking about. You know, if Mike is doing all these extra duties, we would know that on the give raises and stuff like that to people who are.
Or we would have known about this position and this would have been done.
Correct.
Cause did you even know we had an assistant city administrator position?
I did not.
project, yeah, I did think
It
about
was
it.
before.
And, you know, and maybe it is that we give our raises in July like we normally do, and when we start talking about these forms and getting them nailed down to, you know, be more specific and let the department heads look them over and stuff, maybe it's something we do mid, like, you know, we look at raises, the normal cost of increase, whatever it is in July, and we look at evaluations in you know, at the end of December or January, and
There's all kinds of different ways
Yeah, I
to
mean, we
look
can
at
look at
that,
it,
you
but-
know, and,
I just would ask that these get distributed to department heads so they
oh,
can
yeah,
adjust.
yeah, once we
per
get onto
department.
that part, we'll talk.
Right.
My big thing here, you know, is to be sure that whatever's decided tonight is that we are ironclad in doing it, and we're not going against the Iowa code, in any way, shape, or form, you know? That's my big thing. No matter what you do, I would have a hard time, because we bestowed a title on somebody, it has now turned into a position / this. It's something totally different than what we did before, in my view. That's
Like, if you,
You look at the
I don't
agenda.
have, like, so in my job, I'm a legal assistant. So I can do both, but if let's say we had a secretary who wanted to be promoted to a paralegal, wouldn't you think that they would open that up to everybody and then also take in-office applications? So if somebody else can apply for if this is gonna be, like, if we're gonna have the administrator, he could apply within to be that position, but you also open it up to the public, so.
On a promotional basis, we have not done that, I'm
No,
just saying.
I mean, I don't know,
We have not done that.
And it's hard to tell some of these positions, because I don't know if any of the other council people have looked at it, but have you ever reviewed our city handbook?
it's old.
It is very old. There's no job descriptions, there's no duties listed in it. And,
And I know in our audit that they specifically
If you
asked
don't mind,
for job
when you look at the
duties.
screen,
oh God, I can't see that.
Turn around.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
we look at the date on. You was in,
Boy, I wish the name,
what the title said.
January, yep.
You can, well,
You were here. You witnessed it. You know what's going on.
Yeah,
You know the
I'm-
title.
But you
I'm
didn't take
not-
a
I'm
pay
not
increase, why did you?
I'm not.
I'm just.
We asked every lawyers, we asked, so we did everything, our homework, we did it with Christie. What the difference was him, deputy clerk / assistant city administrator.
I think this is
You might
just,
have to look for it.
what I think, I voted on that, I agree with you, we did that, and I wish he was still here completely as well, but, that was based off of a title change and no additional work, or no additional change in job duties, is that what? No pay increase, and you're saying that you contacted jobs and we do add pay, we're supposed to post that?
Designation for pay, it says if you are filling an open position, and I'm hearing it's an open position.
It's,
It's
You know.
not, I mean, to me, I don't view it as that, because it wasn't open in the first place when we gave it to Chris. It was just something we.
I get
That's
what
all.
everybody's
We
saying. I get what
created the job
Right,
position for her.
absolutely.
So if he's saying that it's open, that means we created it when we gave it to her.
big,
So,
And shouldn't have.
so I'm just thinking this out, I'm just thinking out loud here. So the high school Nick Peasley, okay, was our high school basketball coach, very dedicated, okay? He ended up going someplace else to coach basketball, and there was no plan, from what I could see as a taxpayer, that the board had to replicate that vacuum. That's my concern. So what is our united plan that we're going to have if Mike Moore leaves? Are we going to form a committee and do this proactively and strategically and hire someone that's going to have the caliber? And we're gonna get into a price tag of $80,000. And it's 110 with benefits.
Yep.
So I don't want to, I'm not sugarcoating that stuff. So we're talking about 59 and having concerns with that. Now we're talking about 80 plus benefits, right? So, you know, we don't have a plan right now, is all I'm getting at. And I don't wanna give the taxpayers the inference that we don't have a plan, like, you know.
and this is what we're trying to.
Because by doing this, it creates some stability, at least in the interim, for, you know, other things that happen.
No less, it's just stability for the city
Maybe
and
that's,
utilities.
I'm just.
With someone has
speaking out
11 years
loud,
of
right?
experience, and we wouldn't be sitting tonight here until I asked him, will you stay? He said, yes, definitely. He won't be sitting here unless he's willing to get you approval of my recommendation to continue and do the good job and promote himself and look out for the city and utility. I'm not here tonight to propose a raise for me or anybody else. I'm here to stabilize the city with having good employees that has other opportunity, and we're trying to attract them to stay here.
I think what this goes back to is the city and utilities need to work closer together
Yeah.
as boards and councils, so we have
If we're
better.
not getting shared the knowledge, like if you, I mean, if we're not getting told these things, like I was, to be honest, I was extremely upset that we even had a meeting tonight and I wasn't told. I had to find out through my email, and then I had to figure out why we were even having the meeting, because I had other things going on.
I was told last Wednesday, Thursday, I asked it on as quick as I
But in the
can.
same sense, again, how do you sit here and give a $15,000 raise, 32%, $7 an hour, however you wanna spit it out, and you have employees out here who work just as hard, if not longer hours, putting their life on the line, making less, and you're supposed to tell them that's okay? I'm sorry, Officer Martinson, you put your life on the line every day for us, and you work way more hours than you should. But we're gonna give this employee $15,000 more. To me, I have a hard time swallowing that. I'm sorry, Mr. Henderson, you put all these hats on and you work in all these departments and you even throw yourself in and you drive for the rest of it. But we're gonna give somebody else a $15,000 increase. Sorry. I mean, what does that, I don't know, that just does not sit well with our current employees. Like, he's a great employee, but we also have 15 other great employees. Just this whole thing, it was just pushed too hard and too fast and not enough communication for me.
And really, it's something that over the years, maybe should have been addressed over the years. And maybe, hindsight's 20/20, you never know. Like I said, it's just, I feel like it's, I got my back up against the wall. If I don't do this, then, who's gonna be mad? If I do it, who's gonna be mad? And I don't like being put in those
Nobody
positions,
should be mad, Mike.
I'm trying.
Man, it's your own opinion.
Well, I'm just trying to do what's best for the city myself, and again, for Mike, because if we fight for this and we keep him here, it's great. He's gonna be here, he's gonna give the stability, but what if we're holding him back from the job that he truly wants to do?
But we won't be here until I got that opinion. If he told me no, he's gonna pursue his dream, I wouldn't be here. But he told me that he would love to stay here if the board and the council approve my recommendation. That's why I called for it. And actually, I was asked that question by the chairman of the utility board. And that's what Pat was involved with that he is willing to stay. Otherwise, we won't be here tonight, and then you approve my recommendation, and he's gonna come tomorrow and tell me, no, I'm not. But we wasted our time. So we came here based on his opinion that he would like to stay. We had the opportunity to keep him here or to let him go, which nobody needs to apologize or him to feel bad or anything. I did what I should do.
But you didn't do it 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Because he told me last Wednesday.
Right.
I
So
don't
if he
know.
was good enough to have that position, why didn't you give it to him then?
Well,
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I
If he
need
was
to
that
approve
good, you
it.
should have.
If
No,
I
it's coming
have
up
the
now.
authority to give him what I'm recommending tonight, I'll do it. But I need your approval.
No, what Shirley's saying, why didn't you give it to him back when Kristen?
The last 2 years.
Yeah.
Because
Why
he
why did we wait until we got
Why
into
wait
a
till now?
position
He was
where you gotta do
being
it?
trained. You can't just hand him.
But he's been here 11 years.
He's been trained on everything. I got him out of high school.
I
He
know,
was
11
promoted-
years ago. Why wasn't he being trained 11 years
He
ago
was
from the beginning?
promoted to be a deputy clerk.
Okay, I feel like I'm in a hamster wheel. Can we move on with this? I mean, I feel like we're just going and going and going and
I
going.
suppose,
I don't know
Just wait a second.
decision is
Okay,
here,
well,
right or wrong.
I've listened to what Brian just said. And maybe I'll say it again.
What?
If,
I've been
I know, you might say
all
one of these. So, if these employees leave or something, and we go out on the street and hire this again, you're at $80,000. You start paying IPers and everything else.
Minimum, I think.
Yeah, I get IPers. I have very good benefits where I work, and my employer pays me $20 for that.
Yeah, so I mean,
So I do see what Brian's
it's
saying.
gonna cost you more. It's just, we're talking about where we're gonna spend, where we're gonna get 7,500 on the city side, so we're gonna the utility side, where we're gonna get, another 20.
But if Ash left, we wouldn't.
We're not talking about that, we're just talking about those
Yeah.
replacements.
But I understand, but,
Okay.
so now we got an assistant. So if something happens, but see, I guess maybe I'm not funny, because I was thinking of, if Mike leaves, we're gonna hire a assistant city administrator if he leaves. We're talking like if he left for this other job, it sounds like, to me, you're saying we're gonna hire this city
I'm saying-
administrator.
$80,000.
I'm saying, in between these two groups, at some point, Ash is going to say, I'm going to retire.
And then we start looking for a city
Okay,
administrator.
but maybe he chooses not to give us 6 months, and finding is someone that you want is not gonna happen in 2 weeks to come to rural Iowa. I'm telling you, we went through this with the economic development position, that was a chunk of city visits.
Pat,
If Jim Henderson chose to retire next year, finding a person that has a grade 3, it requires a grade 3, this is
Right.
our current sewer system, finding that person with that grade 3 sewer license does not come knocking on your
No, I
door.
understand that.
No, that's all I'm saying, I'm not arguing with you, I'm just
Right.
saying that's,
But can't we plan for this? And now we have a position open. Or Sarah steps into his position and we compensate her for that, and then we have another open position. Or don't have an open position, I mean, whatever that may look like. Can't we start planning in the next couple of years on how we're gonna pay this? And, I mean, wouldn't that be potentially a committee would look into on how we can pay for this new assistant city administrator, if that's what we're looking at?
that's what I'm getting at, but if you just, to me, honestly, I feel like we're at that point. If we let Mike leave in this circumstance, I feel like you could have a domino effect quickly, and then you've got a vacuum. And
That's what if, I mean, we don't know
I
if that's gonna
completely
happen.
agree with that.
Yeah,
It's a what if, but
those are tough.
everything's a what if, right?
Pat, I got a
He
question.
may not
How long
like
did
your
you
job
work
and
with,
want to come back, and he'd probably
before
fire
you
you.
quit? A year?
About a year and a half.
Year and a half.
But they didn't have to agree to that, you know what I mean? But there's no saying that Ash is gonna want to do that, you don't get. I retire, I'm not gonna do that. I don't know.
I can see, thank you, Cooley. Cooley, I want you to hear me saying, for trying to really listen to everybody and listen to what we're trying to do. And I want to thank everybody here for having to keep these things. I am not here asking for raise for anybody or all these things. I am asking for stability to the city and utility. I don't know, I can't tell you I'm gonna be here for as long as I have been here. We're all running up to age. I am running up to age, I'm 62. I've got, this is it, we have to be proactive, Why not, if we get into understand what I do, and if we give a little bit more, listing comfort at home that if I'm not here tomorrow, we can answer. We're not asking him to be the city administrator. I'm not recommending to have him city administrator. I'm just recommending that you go home feeling comfortable, that tomorrow, if I'm sick, you can call him. He will get you his answer. He got what it takes, 11 years around. Why you invest with somebody else that can cost you more? Right now, the example of the street will start with 15, went up with 18. because that's what it is.
Well, I guess I would feel more comfortable if I had some sort of paperwork that could justify, everything, the employee reviews, specific stuff, on there. And that we'd seen this, and like Shirley said, enough people said, for 2 years, we've evidently been on the brink of disaster in Stuart, Iowa, because we haven't had a city administrator and nobody's been training anybody to take Ash's job. Well, there's only one person that can do that. Why hasn't that been done?
There are cities that people have put, I know Casey, when Casey got their place in Basel, the girl stepped in and took that job, and she didn't have a lot of training, and she did it.
Michelle Sargent, it was Michelle,
Yes.
and she did it all by herself, and she
One
always used to say to
employee.
me, I
I'm not
don't.
saying our city is that size either, I'm just saying,
Right, and
there are
she said-
people that would come in and take the pay that Ash gets and step in and get his job and would love it. I'm just saying that,
I
Ash.
know the point that actually I'm here.
I know what you're
wanting to contain what we got because of all this experience that we don't need to go through all this planning and all these committees and all stuff. As long as you have him ready to answer, ready to fill in, until you find out about who you want to replace.
But don't you think anybody would know, out of all of us, anybody would know better on how that place works than Shirley?
Well, I
Didn't
would
you
say
work-
that,
But didn't you work you worked for
I
a
was just a
really
utility
long
clerk,
time.
I was not the ones that run the books and stuff like that, but it isn't an easy job, there was a lot of work to do, but we had plenty of time to do a lot of things.
Yes, yes.
And
So-
one of them was cleaning.
And
I'm saying that we didn't just do office
we
work,
do everything.
and I'm surprised, to tell you the truth, that we have 5 people in your office. You have had the same thing when you have an audit. Every year they say segregation of duties, you've been having that for 20-some years, well, big deal. They still say the same thing after you get 5 employees, I'm just saying.
What I'm saying, the same thing is, I'm doing my best. I'm trying to comply with the salary of the 4 people, compared to a salary of 2.
But they asked for job descriptions and we never have any job description. I know where you're going with that because I've asked
We have it on
for 3
file.
years why we don't have job descriptions. Like my job description says that I'm to do X, Y, and Z.
We have.
Now, I may do more, I may do less, but that's my job
Well, the
description.
utility clerk has her title, utility clerk, and he had,
We have a job description, it's in the city code.
While we're on the subject,
Yeah.
he had brought up health insurance costs. Right now, that's fully funded, and I know this is, but we've been yearly giving 4% raises, trying to bring up public sector wages to meet private, because we've had a lot of people leave to go private. To me, I think we're at a point where, Adele, for example, requires 20% paid by employees, and I know I pay a third of mine at my job. So I mean, I'm just saying, that's something to consider as these salaries have gotten up as a way to offset. I know that's not a decision for tonight, but
Yeah, I.
Just know the
you
brand.
might have
But
to
it's
leave
something,
to do
brand.
that.
It's something you have to consider when
Yeah.
somebody's going someplace else, I mean, we pay for their insurance, they go someplace else, yeah, they may be making more money, but that's gonna be eaten up by some of that, so if they stay here, of course, hey,
It's an added benefit.
it's a windfall,
Yeah.
basic, not really, but it's like,
Yeah.
hey, and I just wish it wasn't to the point, I just feel like my back's against the wall and I'm being held hostage by it, I hate that. Because I want to do what's right for the city, that's my ultimate goal, is to do what's right for the people that pay up here. That when people ask me, well, why are they getting salaries, or why they get a raise, it's like, well, that's what was recommended, I don't have any real paperwork to say, because so-and-so did this, and this, and stuff like that, it's just like, every year, fine, but I gotta justify my raise at my place. I don't know why the city should be any different, so. But my big thing too is the preference for veterans. It just seems like, you said Sarah's gonna be taking over some of his stuff.
Yeah, if he leaves, which,
And if he stays, he's doing his full job description, which I don't know what that is because deputy clerk is not in the ordinance, just city clerk is. So I don't know what his job description is as a deputy clerk. Is she gonna be doing 50% of that?
She's gonna fill in, yes,
But is she gonna do 50% of his duties as deputy clerk?
yes.
Okay, so
And we're
50%.
gonna hire someone to replace her position.
Okay.
Oh, wait, so that's
Whoa.
75,
See, that's not, whoa,
Whoa,
so that's what I'm saying,
didn't
what's
I
the
just
plan?
ask that?
What's,
Didn't I
that's,
just ask that?
What is that?
When I said, so your proposal is, what happens if Mike leaves?
there's no
If-
plan.
If then Sarah moves up, and what happens to Sarah's position? Nothing. That's, I have a blank right here, and I was just told nothing, but now we're gonna hire another person to take Sarah's spot.
If he leaves, he either replace him or have someone step up and replace the one stepping up. That's what we did.
And
We
then
were
Sarah
hiring.
goes to the deputy clerk, and then who takes Sarah's job?
they'll hire.
You hire someone, so now there's your extra money right there, because you're not gonna hire a city clerk
What is the money?
for 40-some thousand. There's your extra money for your assistant city administrator. I
There's no
just-
extra money,
But
There is, if he leaves,
yes,
and what, right, if he leaves and Sarah takes that job,
yeah.
then you hire that position, which is a lower paying position.
The same, yeah, the same thing, we can get somebody as good as her and get us the same thing. Well, it depends on the market.
But we're trying to find an assistant city administrator. So
And here you're gonna go on the top of those, and try to get assistant.
it seems like it's a little
Well,
loaded.
it's always been saying, if you want to say,
yeah, I just,
Yeah.
only to help me with the.
and you're darned if you do, because looking at all your employees here saying, oh, you just gave a $15,000 a year raise.
Right.
And if you don't, then you look poorly on, like,
So-
I feel like I'm in a hamster.
So, just to go back to my question, because I don't know, maybe you answered it, maybe you didn't. So, if we went through the proposal, you said Sarah's gonna help Mike out, right? And she's gonna do 50% of his job duties,
If
correct?
he stays,
If he stays.
no, absolutely not.
Okay, that's what I asked, was if he stays.
If he stays, nothing will change.
Yeah, that's right.
I just wanted to be clear on that, because
If he stays, nothing will change. You know,
So you're not looking to hire somebody else if he stays,
no,
gets the promotion, Sarah helps out 50%.
But
You're not
doesn't get
looking to
away.
hire.
this is completely different of the subject, whether she gets raised. We're not here for Sarah.
I know, but you're giving her more job duties and you're telling, you're
If
not
he
giving her
stays,
a
what
raise.
job duties
How
gonna
is
get?
that?
She's not gonna get more. If he stays, she's not gonna get any more job duties. Does she help Mike? Does Mike help her? This is the nature of the city hall work. They all have to help each other, but nobody gets more or less.
I'm so
She would
confused.
like to promote herself. She worked on that.
So if he stays,
Yes,
he's gonna do his complete job
yes.
and half of your job. As assistant
Help-
city administrator, he's gonna help you, plus do all his jobs. Sarah's gonna do her job, but she's gonna help out when needed,
Yes.
but not get a $15,000 increase.
That's not the
Because she's
subject.
helping out,
tonight. That's not the
right?
subject.
No, I'm asking. So she stays at her same pay even though she's gonna be helping. He gets a big increase, and I guess I'm just, but if he goes, then Sarah takes his job without a pay increase, but hits his job, and we hire somebody else to do her job?
That's what you say.
No, I'm asking,
My answer is,
I don't,
if Mike stayed, nothing would change.
except when he gets a ginormous pay raise.
That's really what come down to. 7,500 on the utility side, $7,500 on the city side. I think from what have we been doing, it's the same thing. We did the same for the police. We did the same for all other.
We did the same for the police because they needed it. And did we not have to sit up here and listen to them, pretty much what I felt like they were begging for essential,
And we're begging
Stop.
for it too.
but it's not, I mean, you're not gonna stop working because you didn't get a 700 whatever radio. I mean, that's essential to their,
you're gonna have to replace him, and what the line is tonight to explain what it costs.
We wouldn't hire city administrator, city assistant.
I brought that up.
But wait, let me finish. We wouldn't have, if Mike took this other job, we're not gonna go out and look for another assistant city administrator. At this point, that's
You're
not,
gonna get a new utility code.
I mean, we would do something like that, it'd be a deputy clerk. You give him a deputy clerk, or no, whatever, however, we'd be looking for something, yeah, but we wouldn't be hiring another, or looking for, assistant city administrator. We need to be looking at that proactively. We need to get that, yes, we need to, but we're not just gonna go out and spend the money, like next week. And the whole thing about I'm trying to be stable for the community, you should have been doing this 2 years ago. Should have been 2 years, instead of, oh, somebody's leaving, I better keep them. I'm doing this for stability. I have a hard time buying that.
If we needed assistant city administrator, we should have been looking at that when Kristen left. I mean, if it was that important, we
That's
should
what I'm
have been,
saying,
we should have been
here.
2 years ago saying, we need to be stable, we need to find an assistant city administrator, and when Kristen left, that should have been our priority, but we just let it go by the wayside. Now all of a sudden, I feel like somebody's leaving, so we're just gonna pop this position open again and remind everybody that it's open, even though it was open for the last 2 years and nobody thought 2 cents about advertising for it. I mean, 2 years ago, we could have had a committee going, we could have been working on this, and we could have been looking forward, and now all of a sudden, here we are. Ta-da!
I totally agree with that. It's like,
We haven't heard John talk at all.
I know.
What's his
You
opinion?
still there, John?
He's
Oh,
left.
I'm here.
Let's hear your opinion, John.
And I brought it.
Got any comments?
Yeah, the only comment I have is to tell you, Mike Morgan, that I wouldn't put up with this anymore. I'd call Dallas County tomorrow and tell them I'm gonna go to work for you.
That's probably the
He
plan.
has every-
And he does have every right.
And Sarah, if Sarah's there,
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Sarah, I would call either Greenfield or Guthrie Center or Panora, because it sounds like they've got it better than we do.
Wanted to drive.
Thank you, John.
In the same sense, John, don't you think it's unfair to the city employees that have to sit here and listen to this?
So I think it's unfair to me that I have to sit here and listen to this.
Well, I hear you there. but-
Resignation.
I mean, you got you had 5 city employees sitting here, now you've got 3. I mean, how do you think they feel? I mean,
Well, if he's gonna accept more responsibility, why shouldn't he be paid more for it?
But that much?
Well, then we had another assistant city administrator that accepted more responsibility.
If you went out and hired somebody, if he leaves, you're not gonna get by for 60,000.
And the person that you hire in this position, you're gonna lose them. And again, I brought this up, the technical side of the things.
Here you
don't
got,
we have
here
Tierney
you
Tech
got
for
a guy,
this?
here you have a guy,
He said, here you have a guy.
Go ahead, John.
Lose him?
John?
here you have a guy, and, I'm sorry. You got a guy sitting there who has 11 years' experience in doing what we need to do in this city and in the utility. The other thing you're not forgetting, you're forgetting here is that we have a very complicated computer system in the utility company. And sometimes those guys aren't real, they can do everything electrically and they can do everything on the water, but they don't know signal from a computer. And the guy who fixes their computer for them is sitting at your counter there, next to Ash.
So when we went down we went down and we didn't get our bills. Now, did you fix that or did you call Data Tech to fix that? You didn't even know that our bills were out in outer space.
That was on mail services.
It's always
It
a
was mail service, but you didn't have to fix that. I mean,
You can fix
right.
it. It's mail
So, I
service.
mean,
And like Pat said in our meeting the other night, it would be up to us, but he had no problem if we would hire Mike on the side to come and work on the computers if he needed it.
Okay, when that happens in the middle of the day and Mike's on his job somewhere else, we're waiting until later that evening before our system can come back up again.
And you're gonna have that with any company that's IT.
Or you call Tiernan Tech and you say, hey, Mike, can you come fix this? I know that other departments have had to utilize Mike Tiernan, to come fix something on their side of it. I mean, I can't speak on their behalf because it's not my thing, but I know that other people have had to rely on Mike Tiernan. I mean, he's right down the block. I don't know.
All I know is we got a guy sitting there who's willing to work for what he was gonna get paid by his other employer, and something we would have to pay a lot more for if he leaves. And you can get all tied up in knots about this, but that's what it boils down to.
Then why doesn't the utilities give him the 15,000? If he's gonna be working on the utility side, on the utility system, because we're afraid it's down.
Are we gonna come up with the 7,500?
I know, but I'm saying, if that's
He
what we
wasn't all
need to keep it
just
for.
utilities.
No, she's just saying, making the remark that why don't the utilities pay it all?
If
How are we
he's-
gonna come up with the 7,500? It was not in the budget.
If he's gonna be working on utilities, if the system goes down for the utility bills, and he's working on that IT stuff, then what does that have, I mean, I don't know.
It was mentioned
But what do you know?
that Mike may spend about 20% of his time working on IT situations for the city and the utilities. But if he's using 20% of his time at a third of what we would pay another party to do it, then aren't we coming out equal or very close by replacing him and hiring it out to someone else, or keeping him and someone who's already familiar with our systems and doing an excellent job?
Hey, Mike, what's your goal here at the city if you were to stay, besides IT? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are you looking for besides just to stay here and get more money and the type?
I really don't know, to be honest, anymore, so.
I get it, you know, and God,
I understand the subject is difficult. I understand all these things, and I respect every single person sitting here tonight. All I'm trying to say is, we can have our differences, we can have our different opinion about it, but it all boils down to what is the best interest of the city, of the decision I'm trying to make. My recommendation as a city administrator for the city of Stuart for the last 27, 28 years is to please approve my recommendation to keep Mike in his capacity. The city will benefit. It's a good investment in him. How that decision was made tonight, you will never regret it.
Let me just throw this out.
I would make one more comment if I'm allowed.
Yes,
The comment I have is that, I don't know if all of you know, but I've served on several boards and committees and whatever. Over all those years that I've done that, I've never gone wrong following the recommendation of the boss, of the city administrator, or school superintendent, or the librarian, whoever. I've never gone wrong accepting their recommendation. And I would find myself pretty foolish if I didn't. So if our administrator is making this kind of a recommendation, I think that behooves us as part-time, unpaid board members and council members to pay attention to that recommendation and follow what he's telling us to do.
thank you, John. And I didn't mean to make a recommendation to put you on the spot. I am doing it for the best interest of the city of Stuart. you will never regret making the decision based on my recommendation.
So
I
to
see,
get out of this hamster wheel, is somebody gonna do something so we can move forward?
Well, I think Brian had something else to say, didn't you?
I recorded it's too long ago.
40 seconds to pass.
I tell you what. That was really a good point though.
Yeah, I respect what John was saying, of listening to the recommendations, but, you know, it wasn't just a couple meetings ago, we had a committee here recommend, brought the mowing up, and we voted against that. So,
Recommendations are good, Corey, I agree with you,
right,
but they should always be questioned and thought through.
right.
Just to blindly take a recommendation is probably the worst thing that you could do without asking questions, in my opinion. And I think everybody here has done a good job at posing those questions to get a clear understanding so they can make the educated decision as they see fit in the interest for the citizens of Stuart.
So I'm gonna throw this out because now I remember. So how much did the city's property insurance go up this year? This is just one expense that went up because it was most recent. How much did the city side go up? Ours went up 10%, $7,000. How much your side go up? I'm just asking.
I have to look it up, everyone,
Okay, so what was the dollar amount ballpark?
10, 20,
I thought it was 12, but.
Okay, so let's just say 20 grand went out the door to a publicly traded company that's, you know, that's one expense. There's multiple other ones like that have gone up year over year. If we don't invest in our folks that we're wanting to try to keep to lead our community, I don't care about publicly traded companies and all of those other expenses. We should be trying to sustain the people that are decent and good and, you know, I don't know, that's just my own perspective, I guess.
Brian, I think you're right there. Just the ask we have in both the utilities and in the city is our employee. And we need to understand that we need to take care of that asset before we do anything else. And I'm ready to move this question unless anybody else is.
Well, I just know that, you know, we've had several employees that have left and nobody has fought this hard. So.
I posed this when Jim had gotten his grade and had taken on more work, he got his grade 3, and the same thing with Kristen. Her deal was more further down the line. And when she left, that was horrible. And stuff, you know, what she did and the hole that's created, it's not.
But not to discredit her, we moved on, right? We're still doing okay, we got someone to fill the position. We're moving on.
I'm not discrediting her, I'm giving her.
No, I'm saying, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to discredit what she was doing, I'm just saying, we did replace her, and we are still moving forward
We
with a
didn't-
new position, a new person. Our town's still growing, we're still moving, we're doing okay.
We didn't have a catastrophic
Yeah.
thing.
There wasn't a,
Otherwise, this would have been done 2 years ago.
I made my recommendation, and I think I respect everyone's opinion. I don't know what else required for me to do as an administrator.
I'm glad everybody had a civil debate and a civil
Yes,
discussion.
absolutely,
You know,
yes.
For sure.
Thank
Everybody's
you all
entitled to
for
their own opinion.
expressing your opinion. I want to repeat myself once and last time that council members and board members approve my recommendation, but that doesn't mean they have.
Could you reiterate it?
I'd like to promote deputy clerk to be deputy clerk / assistant city administrator. With the salary coming from 45 to 60. Assistant was making to be split in half between utility and city. The difference 15,000, that's $7,500 for the utility, $7,500 from the city. This is my recommendation.
I hate to see Mike leave, by all means. I guess I'm not making a motion. I'm just throwing it out there. And we're gonna get to this next one. On the agenda. I guess personally, I would like to see evaluations. I would almost like to consider maybe offering Mike half. Get some evaluations going and maybe increasing throughout a year or two. Would he even be considered to stay? Would he consider that to stay?
Talking about like a step.
Kind of like.
Like a tier
Yeah.
system, like we did for the cops.
I think that's a good idea.
We did
That way we just-
2,500 for each year.
Kim just said that, where are you guys gonna find the money in your budget? So if, I don't know your guys' budget, so if that's something, you know, maybe you guys could throw out a smaller amount, we can throw out a smaller amount. If Mr. Morgan would stay and take that.
I respect that, I think that's good.
Good compromise, very good.
Compromise, will you consider that?
Well, I have to think about it.
Because you do have drive time to go over there. Gas, $5 a gallon, you do have drive time.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to kick you in the shins, by no means. I'm not trying to do that or undermine anybody. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just trying to find a solution.
Yeah.
And I respect everything you said, I respect everything you said, and I mean, you need to know that. I say if we take it to 10,000, split in half, would that be a step?
Sure.
Yeah,
And I'm not saying I'm making a motion.
No,
I would hate to see him leave,
yes,
but I would also hate to see a 15,000 increase right now.
okay, we were talking about 10, 5 and 5 in each area, and that for him to consider and move on, giving him the idea that it would be reevaluated and down the road.
And then what?
So are
Ron,
you
is out
tabling
here-
this?
What
You
happens,
can agree to it.
but what
Is he
happens
tabling
when, I mean, he's leaving as of July 1st, according to what he said in that meeting. So are we gonna have to have another joint meeting and come up here and sit for another 2 hours and
No, if he,
go back and forth if he decides to?
I think if we,
What
he
we,
decide not
Sorry.
to accept the
He just said
offer,
he'd have to think about it.
if we had an offer and made a motion, made the offer, then he thinks about it. If he says yes, then it's done. If he says no, then it's done.
what if we make him an offer, like Mike was saying? Give him, I don't know, Mike, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Give him 20 minutes. Take a 20-minute recess, let him go think about it.
Call his wife.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful, I'm just trying to find a solution.
and that's good. I think we need to have a.
Because I don't wanna see him leave.
Yeah,
I don't wanna
need
see
to
him.
talk to him.
I got it.
We'll take
But
the
we,
minute.
but wait a minute, we have to agree that we're even gonna do this.
And
I
John,
don't know that the utility board's even okay with doing 5,000. Are we even okay with doing 5,000?
right,
Yeah,
but I think
we
John
need a
has-
motion for that.
Yeah, you need a motion. We need to have them make a motion to make sure they're okay. Because what if one side's not okay, then we can't offer it and have them think about it.
John, do you have something else to say?
Oh, no. I'm done. I told you what I thought.
So we'll have the motion from the council and utilities on this.
Are we taking a break?
We
Well,
can't,
I
what do
think we
you,
need,
you can't take a break and say, well, we think we're gonna offer you this. We have to have a motion and say, we are gonna offer you this, then take the break and let him think about it. I mean, you can't just say, well, maybe. Somebody,
Okay.
somebody from your side and somebody from our side is gonna have to make a motion to move this forward, and if it's not gonna happen, I don't know where we go.
Here's what I will do. I will make a motion that we accept Ash's original proposal, his recommendation of 15,000 and assistant city administrator and deputy clerk. I'll make that motion.
And that would be for the utility side, correct?
And that's the increase of
I don't-
salary would be just the utility side.
He can't,
Okay, I can't do anything for the city or we want to.
Yes.
so he can only make the recommendation to spend the 75, right? The other 75 would have to come from a motion from our side.
Yes, he made a motion to go with my original proposal for the $7,500 on the, to take it on.
And
Is there a second?
I would really like to see the city land on something and we to me, I am an appointed board member by the council, so I would like to see the council kind of land on something. I'm in favor of what Ash is recommending. But again, if we pass this motion, or if we don't pass this motion, what's it matter? So you guys, I mean, I'm not trying to put it back on you, but it's on you. Sorry. I'm sorry, John, I'm
Does,
just.
does my motion die for lack of a second?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
So is there a motion from the council?
then Mike, I would tell you, good luck with Dallas County.
Thank you, John.
It's one of those situations, darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Okay, Cooley has proposed that ten
But he didn't
thousand.
say it was a motion.
Offering the 10,000 split half and half, city and utilities, so 5,000 in, 5,000 there. That we can start with the council. It's
I
a
get that
motion.
idea, I think that that's putting Mike in a bad spot too, to some extent.
It does,
I
that's
mean,
why I
you're
said no
hurting, you're
disrespect.
hurting his future.
So if you did that, I'd hate to see you give him 20 minutes. That's really unreasonable. If the motion was made to make that proposal and he took it home and he had to, whenever he thought about it, and then he came back, he said yes, you said no, then fine, but you can't, because he could because we would have said, okay, on our side, if the utility board went with it. But 20 minutes is kind of a.
So make, just, if that's a proposal, you want to turn that into a motion, could you make that motion and give him 48 hours to, I mean, what's it hurt? I don't know what your time frame is, Mike.
Sure.
So,
But if he takes it, he takes it. If he doesn't, we can bring it up at our next council meeting and go from there.
that's what I'm getting at, yeah.
It's 2 weeks away. But somebody, I mean, there again, somebody from our side is gonna have to make that motion.
I agree.
And it's obvious, it's quiet.
I'm in favor of trying to keep, don't get me wrong in that, I just don't know how. I don't know the best way of going about it, I don't know, money, financial wise, where it's gonna come from, how it's gonna come. Obviously, we can figure that out clearly.
5,000 is not, yeah.
I get that, but, I don't know for the 5,000 thing and 48 hours, I still think that, I mean, now we're talking 5,000 and an extra 2,500. So we're not talking a huge difference there, so I see that side of it too. I'm also a little worried about what you're saying, so if we throw out a motion, I think it would have to be almost contingent on it being, kosher with what you're saying.
And what Aisha said, it should be, but Kristen's been gone, what, 2 years? That's 2 years ago, we have different city attorneys. They may have a different view. I
And
don't
there may be new case law. I mean, there's- in the
Exactly.
legal world, there's always new,
I don't know.
I mean,
We can search on these things if we have the concept of keeping the gun.
I'll make the motion to go with your recommendation contingent on it being kosher.
On whose recommendation?
on the 15,000 or the 7,500.
The 7,500 from the city, as long as it is kosher, just because I don't think the 5,000, I think we're spinning our feet even more like that.
Corey, I thought you were gonna buy it. I'm sorry.
No,
I did the full,
He
Ash's,
did-
he did the full,
he did
Ash's
the
recommendation,
recommendation.
as long as it is good with our city.
Corey was a proposal, not a motion.
We have a motion from Dolly, do we have a second?
Okay, we don't have a second.
Motion died then.
Okay,
We should take a break now for a minute and.
please,
I mean, we can.
please.
Are you serious? Then why don't you wait till after the break and then we can just continue on and get it finished up?
I thought Corey was good. I'm out here.
My husband's been going fishing for a week, I'm going home.
And I think Canadian's leaving, I think he just wants to hold it.
I was sitting there, he was hungry as I am. Getting there,
Actually, I'm feeling a little sick in my stomach right now.
yeah. A little bit.
Yes, that is on there.
And the whole team was here all day.
No, I'm not working, I'm not on work time. If Steve approves that, then all you gotta do is hook up to the transformer. Pay your connection rate. I paid him $60-some here. Oh, you mean to the, well, I never got a bill.
We got a bill for
Well, I haven't seen any bill.
Well,
I just got.
the.
Oh, see, that's in my.
But yeah.
I just got my mail today.
To get back to, Steve gives us the okay.
Okay,
We wired a pro meter in it,
okay.
and then you have to settle the service.
No, well, I better settle this there.
Yes, I'm not doing it right.
I wanna have it fired up. I sent pictures of the paperwork and then the hookup here.
Where's that? Oh, right here.
But the green ground was right here, but he took it out. Said, no, you gotta have the ground here. You don't bond with the green screw there.
Yeah, completely different.
Yeah, I had to buy that.
Just for this.
Right.
I knew it was separate, but I didn't know that you had to.
Yeah, so the first thing he did is screw it, pulled the green screw out. That's just what that is. You don't need it. You gotta get the little, what the customer standard. That wire is expensive. It's, what was it, $179 for the ground wire?
Dick,
Is that John? Yeah, John.
what are we doing?
Quick break, we gotta get people back in here.
Okay,
I'm glad Sarah was here and said, I had to pay the bill up here. I said, I ain't got any bill.
It's funny on that bonding because I've seen him bond everything. He had a bond to the water yet, bond to the gas.
Well, and
I
Alan
think they
said,
gotta be separate.
yeah, Alan said REC is different too, than most electric.
Yeah, well, it used to be.
And I did ask Steve, I said, do I have to have neutrals on one side, ground on the other? He said, any way you want.
I've seen it both ways.
But he told me to wire it up. I said, I'm gonna have it hot, so I have electric to run my drills. He said, you do all the wiring you want, but don't. Or any metal or anything. In fact, he stopped.
Are you guys ready?
I know he's not very that long.
Oh, at least we got 1, 2. And is John still on the phone?
Yes.
So we at least have 3.
Nobody wants to like that.
Maybe not.
No, she's right there.
Oh,
Ash.
she came, oh, I thought she went.
Ash.
I wasn't talking about Ashley, I'm not sure, I thought she went home.
I made five.
Well, I hope she. If she leaves. I thought she was
Ready?
going home.
You know, I talked during the state.
Good.
I took her out to it, she wasn't going anywhere. Did you? Yeah. Did you? We want to go to, where's it, Michigan. up to,
Yeah.
I want to take a bus trip on, we're gonna do it, Sissy, we're gonna go to Galapagos Islands and
There's a core.
Ecuador, just her and I.
Those cows don't do it.
Yeah, come on out.
I'd have to figure out what it was. Who?
The cow got him and it broke his pelvis.
I think,
He's getting along a lot better now.
Doug.
No, he
took a
is. I just saw him the other
I
day.
told him.
Where did I see him?
Trip to Colorado with that same guy.
Forgot my-
Where is that place? Mackinac.
Guess what?
Three of my friends have been there, and they were just like, yeah, I figure I used to spend all my money before I die.
We'll see, we come
He
in.
could go up there too. Friday,
Okay.
Saturday, Alex.
Yeah. One time.
We went to,
That's the
so now I'd like, if it wasn't for $5 gas, I would like to get rented there. Like 6, 8 people, cause it's cheaper than what we took on last trip.
Alex, her name.
I don't even know.
I'll have my check.
But there's a bunch of people.
I got the
Oh,
Fine, nope.
Dave knows both my boys.
I'm doing that in, July.
He wants to be a deputy sheriff.
They say.
Thanks.
Really? Oh,
He's
I have no
actually,
idea.
He's really.
I see you guys are
I
doing.
normally do this county fair, and I hate this.
I was
down
out
there.
there
Yesterday, I
So
saw a
we're
load
gonna
of
go to
videos.
Jesus White Burger. So I go,
Okay.
I guess the county fair's out for me. Well, Phil said like lost for trying last year, but this year.
That's not your guys.
Diane Schaefer. Always they have her cabin.
Yeah, I see that, like, oh.
It's just her cabin.
Well,
She didn't say anything about.
basement porch, and then.
And she
And
might.
I don't have one.
You can use the well to. Well.
Yes.
I've been to the house.
We've been to the-
I don't know.
So you've already got some, obviously.
And 4, 5,
That's where it came from.
God provides anyway.
But financially.
Yes, because you do without the other thing.
I thought she was using that.
Yeah.
I know where it came from. Hey, Dick. We have tags. Yeah.
We can use that pump or something in there, you know, to pump the footing of it.
I got my.
You may be trimming some more.
We,
I've had people ask me if we can register that.
Mike, are the tags in yet for the UTVs? No. Okay.
Because when we do, I wanna make sure that our cops are checking them out, because there's people under 16 that are zipping very quickly.
Are you gonna give what you want, is your proof you got insurance and driver's license?
But they can come up here and pay, and then they'll like mail the.
No, no pay now, the state come in, said there's no fee.
There's no fees.
There's no fee.
Are you
The government just.
He just did it.
Do we need to change our ordinance?
3 words. But in the meantime, nobody pays.
Okay, so they just need their proof of
VIN
insurance
number, picture.
and a driver's license for everybody who could potentially be driving it.
Lori and I are on.
So if you have kids, so let's say I have a UTV and any kids above 16, I need to make sure they have a
You
copy
gotta
of
be
the driver's.
18. The ordinance, you gotta be 18.
Oh, that makes a big difference.
Okay, we're gonna start back up. He left. He had to go, he had hay. He wanted volunteers to come move hay.
Does somebody want to tell John so he can make a note of that?
John,
Ryan left. He had,
Oh,
he had,
well, I could do that.
he had hay coming in. Okay.
okay, who are you?
We officially started again?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion that we offer Mr. Morgan $10,000 to stay. Right now, it's just a proposal.
You mean 5,000 for the city,
Correct.
and then,
Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
sorry, I don't mean to get.
5,000 from the city, 5,000 from the utility board, if they agree on that. With $2,500 increase next year.
Next year this time.
And that'd be 2,500 from the utilities as well.
Okay,
Corey, can I just ask you a quick question? Would you be interested in maybe adding, based upon satisfactory in, performance reviews? Something like that in there? So, okay.
okay, second by Cobble, so how do you vote? Kirkpatrick,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Renslow,
No,
Cobble.
Yes.
Okay, now the utilities. Who's calling?
Brian.
Oh, okay,
Oh, okay.
tell him what the motion was.
Yes.
well, they have to make the motion
Oh,
first.
they
Yeah,
got,
they have to decide on their side.
okay, on their side.
Anybody on the utility board wants to make that motion?
Brian, we have a motion made by Councilmember Cooley to give Mike 5,000 on the city side. And there is a motion to be made on the utility to give 5,000. And then until next year in the city, to $2,500.
Okay, did that pass on the city side?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
We need
But
a
there's no
motion,
motion on there,
we
on
need
your
a
side.
motion on the utility side for the same reason.
Okay, hold on. Sorry, I can't hear you. Okay, so I can make that motion if that passes council.
Yes, moved by Brian. John, we have a motion by Brian.
Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
Okay.
So the motion we have here just takes the city side of it. Is there any proposal from the utility side or?
Yes, I'd second, I'd ask John to make his motion again.
John, you wanna make your motion?
Sure, I'll make it again.
What the motion, John?
Actually, the council backed that off from 75 to 5, is that what you said, Ashley?
Yes, and the 2,500 will be in a year.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that part.
Okay. So that,
So,
yes. Yeah, John.
is there a vote for that? Is there a motion for that proposal?
Brian made a motion to approve 5,000 to be increased,
Cities, right?
yes, to match the city, to be increased to 2,500 next year.
Is there a second on the utility board?
The,
Motion dies for lack of a second.
yes.
Okay.
Now, do you wanna make a different motion, or you wanna leave the subject, or how you wanna deal with it?
Is there a different proposal from the utility board?
Do you have a motion, John, or we just drop the subject, or what?
I made a motion earlier that died for lack of a second. And Brian made a motion that died for lack of a second. I don't know what else we can do. Except wish Mike well.
I think the city has stepped up to try to find compromise. Was that Corey's proposal?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
So why, I'm just asking my fellow board members why we're against Corey's proposal.
We're not getting them.
I wanna know where the money's gonna come from, because,
We gave some to EMC, actually, we have another 5,000.
because we have this water tower and everything.
That's bond money, that's not budget money.
Okay, but we did not have it set in our budget to do this. What if we have something major that comes up?
We weren't worried about that when we went to bid on the water line project.
her opinion. I don't know where
This
we're
is my opinion.
To see if the council was willing to work with us also.
Well, this is my opinion.
Go ahead, Kim.
Huh?
Go ahead. What do you, would you
She
just say
said it was
something?
her
I
opinion.
said it was my
What
opinion.
do you-
I don't know why we have to keep
Yeah.
badgering them.
I've got it. Ash, I've got to jump off here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
If there's a motion that comes up, please call, okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Bye, guys.
No other motions?
We just leave it as it is, and
Okay.
I don't know really how to solve it, or how to proceed from here. Brad, do you have anything you wanna say?
I haven't got anything to say that hasn't already been said.
Okay,
And I suppose with the council's vote, I mean, it was a 3-1 vote, so if he agrees to accept the 5,000 coming from the city, then that's his choice.
It's gonna be a hard position to fill. It's hard to
At an
hire,
expense,
it's terrible hard to hire people right now.
So no other motions from utility?
I don't hear any.
I guess we'll move on to number 3 then.
Thank you for your patience, Mike,
Thanks, Mike.
and, I can't imagine how hard it is to sit there and have all this discussed, but, your patience and professionalism with everything, so I do commend you on that.
And I would like to say, if you do make the choice to go to Dallas County, I would like to thank you for all your hard work that you have put into the city.
So moving on to number 3, I know I brought this up in several meetings. It's been a few years when I first brought it up. I sent out a performance review form, sent it to Nadine. I had a couple others, but this would be, if we decided to move forward, this would be something we could give to Ash for his review to use maybe on the employees. And these are not, I don't want anybody to think that I sent this out, these are the ones you have to use. You know, some ideas, you could always change them, come up with your own. I think, you know, situations like this can definitely be avoided by doing these employment reviews. We know why we're giving raises, and we're not just handing money out without justification, not just to us, but to the people in town that pay the taxes, that pay the salaries. And having the joint meeting tonight, I would hope that the utility board would see the benefit in this. Because any business takes an inventory, or they usually go broke. If you don't know what's good and you don't know what's bad, you're never gonna fix that. So I would hope that they would consider need to have a committee of 2 people from the utility board, 2 people from the council, and possibly Mayor Cook to get together to do these reviews. We can do them on a yearly basis, mid-years. Go ahead, Christine.
When it comes to our employees, council should not even be touching these, or it should be the pyramid effect that we'll just take Jim because he's right there. Jim does his reviews on his employees, Ash does his review on Jim, and we just see him. We don't, as a council, we need no part in our employees' evaluations unless, I mean, maybe Ash because we're over Ash, but our employees, it's completely on Ash to do, and then he gives them to us to review.
You are exactly right. And if I gave that impression
Yeah,
that he'd be
I don't
doing the
want-
employees,
Right.
no way. I don't wanna do a department head. I think the council and the utility board would review Ash since he's the city administrator. At that point, what's going good, what's not going so good, how can we improve, you know? And just sitting here tonight, you know, maybe there's a few things that could be improved upon. We got forms, we give them to Ash, he can decide how he wants to use them, he reviews these department heads, they review their employees. I think you can get a good feeling on where an employee's at with these. I know in my job, just personally speaking, I don't know about anybody else's, but I have to write my own performance review on what I've done. And then give it to management, and then they need to put theirs in. And I just don't get an automatic raise every year. And I think we owe it to the citizens of Stuart to be sure that we're taking everything. Even, we're all volunteers, but I think we stepped into this to try to serve, and this is gonna best serve the community. So I sent this to Nadine. Did you guys get the copy? Did you get all the copies?
Did you get the performance one?
I did
Just
not.
the employee one?
I did not send them to the utility boards. It's the same type of form, but it would be used. Well, this is a different one.
Oh.
You would have got the form for the city administrator,
Yeah.
okay? This would be more for like, for Ash to use if he was reviewing Jim, or Jim to use if he was reviewing Corey or whatever. That would be something here. And all this is there's one for a new hire, there's just one for a performance appraisal. Again, this is not saying, I'm not saying you have to adopt these documents, but I think we have to adopt something. I think we owe it. I've not seen an employee review since I've been here. I just voted for raises.
Okay, my question is on this, we do this evaluation, so are you gonna stay going straight across the board for everybody? Or are we gonna give each certain one a different percentage?
I think it's something just to review going forward and kind of see. I mean, because I kind of like the July raises where we do give them a cost of living, but then maybe towards, like I said, December or something, we do these evaluations and, if it's a couple % more because
So this would be something,
just
I
get
guess,
something to talk about.
yeah, I guess tonight, I want to gauge how people feel about this. Is it something you want to move forward with? I would really like to see the council and the utility board work closer together. So if you had two people, like I said, bring in Mayor Cook on this, we discuss how you want to do that. Tonight would be more of a thing, should we move forward? Should we get something like this set up on it?
I would just like if we can get these to Ash and Ash can make anything for department heads, but these also go to the department heads, so then they can make changes and then we can receive those changes back. Because, rescue is gonna be different than public works and public works is gonna be different than police. So if we hand this form to Jim or to Sean and say, hey, can you please take this and make all necessary changes so it fits, and then kind of just go from there.
Okay, you're wanting to tailor it more to the department.
Correct.
Well, exactly. I mean, like I said, you gotta use this for you.
But this is a
because-
starting point. We can
Yep.
hand this to Jim and say, please tailor this to your department. And
Well, we
can
would
send it
give
back.
everything to Ash, let him do it, then he forwards it on to you, because that would be the chain of command. It starts us, we go to Ash, Ash goes to them, on that. And I think that probably work on the utility board side is that Ash is the manager basically, and then he come to you. Is that right, Pat?
And it would be
You
for
go to
non-union, let's make this clear,
Exactly.
Mike,
Okay.
Mike, you need to make sure that it's for non-union people, right?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't give that your union is a whole separate ballgame.
You can't do it in the
Okay, so, yeah, you would just follow whatever you do. But again, I just, I believe in him. I think we owe it to the town, and I just wanted to throw it out there and see what people thought. If we need a motion to move forward with this, I want to hear people's thoughts, or we can make a motion, move forward, and then you want your thoughts first? Fine.
I mean, can I just make a motion to go ahead and and direct Ash, I don't even know how, can we direct Ash to start forming these for department heads, himself to form it for the department heads, and also distribute this form to the department heads to start then revising for their department employees. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand what you're
Because
saying.
Ash would have to develop however this would apply to, and I guess, take that back, it would be for Jim and Sean, and Mayor Cook would have to be
Right.
Chief Rehab.
Exactly. It'd be for whoever
So whoever,
is,
chain of
yeah,
command,
chain
yes,
command, whoever's.
but it would have to be different, so I would make that motion, just start the process to
Start that
deliver
process.
them
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, John.
Mike, where'd you get this form?
City of Leon, I believe.
Okay? Do you know if this thing's copyrighted?
Oh my God, I don't know, they gave it to me, I'd have to,
No, I don't have to ask him.
well, no, you'll have to ask him if you wanna know if it's copyrighted, I'm not gonna ask him.
Well, I don't wanna get in trouble by filling out a copyrighted form.
Geez, John, if you just heard about it, I didn't say you had to use that form.
I got another question. I've got another question. If we're gonna do this, I would like our attorney to look at this too.
Well, we have to come up with the forms first. This is just just asking our people to start revising. Not saying this is the form, we're just asking our department heads to start revising and coming up with what we need. And then once we have final forms, then we can vote on that as the final forms, but for right now, it's just.
And perhaps I wasn't clear when I said this wasn't the form, you know, this was an example to use. And as a matter of fact, I did contact our city attorney and they said there is no standard form that you have to use. But I would be more than happy to have it go to the city attorney after the revisions. I have no problem with that. So if you wanted to add that part.
Well, I think we need to take the first step in just directing Ash to get them to department heads and for Ash to start drafting them. So
I'll
we
second that
even
motion.
know what it looks like. And for Mayor Cook, sorry, I didn't mean to forget you.
Mike, you asked for comments. I have a comment, okay? I think with something like this, I think we as board members and council members are assuming way too much authority over staff. I think this is a staff function and shouldn't have anything to do with either the council or the utility board. I think our staff is capable of doing this job, and I think we're just gumming up the works by us sticking our nose into it.
Well, this is, we're not reviewing only the city administrator. That would be our job.
Okay, Dick, we have a motion in a second.
Why would it be our job to do that?
Because if he's doing a poor job, how do we know?
Well,
But you know, you just wanna let them run, have any kind of corrective actions or anything, if something comes up, that's ludicrous.
Look, our job is to make policy, period. That's what we do. It's not to pass it on anybody or anything. And if the job Ash or Pat are doing is bad, it's gonna show up pretty quickly in the policy we have to make.
Well, I know one thing that the Iowa League of Cities would disagree with you, and they were more than happy to say that thriving communities and thriving councils usually sit down and do a review of their city administrator at least once a year to see what's going good and what could be done better.
I think we do that every year, we haven't a lot.
Okay, can I?
Anyway, we have a motion
We have
on
a
the city
motion and a
side.
second.
Is it,
Real quick, would any of our employees, Corey, Jim, Lisa, would you be opposed to having evaluation? I just to get, I mean, you are your employees.
We've done this for decades.
Well, I know, but we're just asking for a form that because we don't get to see the forms. It's just paper.
I can share the form I have, absolutely.
You got your own forms, don't you, Ash?
Yes, sir.
But we don't.
how come we never see
You
it?
asked me for it to get it. This is
We
personal.
shouldn't have to ask.
But we've
I
been
can't
talking
believe
about
I
this for
bothered
2
you.
years. Like, maybe what, is this our third year? I
Yeah.
know that we've been talking every time it raises, this comes up, and then we say, well, we're gonna work on it.
But anyway,
And then we don't.
I think we're gonna do the motion first and move forward.
So how do you vote? Patrick,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Renzo,
Yes,
Kava.
Yes.
And one comment I want to say, as Dave is being the teacher, he realizes at the school, your performance is based, your pay is on your insurance plus your cost of living. And the higher you are in wages, the less amount you get. The lower teachers get a bigger raise than the more senior teachers all the time, instead of straight across the board. Okay, what other talk on this?
Well,
That was it.
I think it's up to you, utility side, if they wanna do that.
then,
You know.
yeah, that's on that.
Yeah, we pass it, just, my, if you don't mind, just email me the stuff that. I-
Sure, yeah, it's just,
Nadine
did
has
you
it,
get the first one? So it's just these other two?
Yeah,
and-
yeah, no problem.
Perfect.
And we're, again, we're not saying that this is gonna be implemented tomorrow, this is just to
Yes,
start the
yes.
talk and the
I will
process.
implement it with all the employees, we'll get it done.
Do we-
Just starting the drafting
Did
process.
we wanna have a time frame or do you, well, hold it, we gotta see if you guys even wanna, so never mind, I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
Yes, I will sit with the employees
Yeah,
and discuss it.
And they
Get
can
back to you.
table it till their next meeting if they want, I mean, when they have more people here, I mean, I don't know. That's
We're
their
good,
decision.
we're good with that subject. Okay,
Utilities aren't good or anything on
no, that's, I'm just,
They haven't even seen them.
they will discuss it in the.
Well, they've seen the city administrative form, cause that's the one that,
Right, but
that they
the other
would
one they
be,
haven't.
well, that's what they would be really concerned with, would be, in my view, review job to review your job, his job, his employees.
And we'll let them discuss that in their meeting,
Yeah.
you know, they have different stuff.
So do we need a?
You don't need anything.
Well, unless, wait a minute, if they wanna make the motion, they can.
Well, I want,
Oh, okay,
I
so
would
whoever,
rather table it.
however
Okay,
it goes.
okay, the council, sorry, the utility vote table. The utility vote
Do I
table.
hear a motion to approve these forms?
Ken requested to table that item for the utility.
Oh, all right, that's fine with me.
Okay, so we table that item for the utility. Now we go to the next item,
Adjournment.
that. Adjourn.
Adjournment.
adjournment.
Last one.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn, yeah.
Hey, I'll see you in 2 weeks.